my final Dexter Season 8 episode review video, as this is the original series finale of Dexter. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you aren't caught up to the point where I am rewatching or watching Dexter, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention as well as put in the description for you. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And if you want to see my initial review of this episode on YouTube, I'll put that video link right here with about 20 seconds left in case you want to check it out. Quality-wise, the audio and the sound is pretty bad. Wait, audio and sound are the same thing. The picture and the sound quality is pretty terrible, but it's more of me giving bullet points rather than reading 3 or 4 paragraphs of notes that I took during the episode. So if you want to check it out, go ahead and do that. I did do a little bit better with my presentation as far as I actually wore the smock and the shirt that Dexter wears, and I haven't done that yet. Maybe I'll do that for my New Blood reviews. So anyway, check it out right there with about 20 seconds left in this video. But this will be Dexter, Season 8, Episode 12, the original series finale of Dexter. The title of the episode is called Remember the Monsters. And this will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode about an hour ago. Dexter has arrived at the airport with Harrison, and Harrison wants some Oreos. And what Harrison wants, Harrison gets. Dexter's dark passenger says he always thought if he left Miami he'd be running for his life, but this time it's for a new one. Hannah is in the bathroom at the airport because Elway is in the boarding area, and Dexter decides to get Harrison some Oreos. Along with that, he gets a backpack with a bunch of random stuff he puts in it, and then he tells one of the ticket people at the airport that someone left that bag sitting over by like the benches that people sit on. Well, not benches, but they're more chairs. And he wants to let somebody know just in case, because if he doesn't say anything and something happens, he would feel guilty. So TSA has some questions for Elway, but because of the suspicious bag, nobody can board now. So that didn't really work out as planned, but at least it got Elway for the moment off of Hannah's ass. Deb's been placed on a stretcher, getting taken to the hospital. Masuka, Batista, and Quinn are also going. She doesn't want them to tell Dexter. Deb thought she was going to die, as she says to Quinn in the ambulance. And then Deb tells Quinn she's done shit that she's not proud of. Quinn tells Deb that the good cancels out the bad. And Deb says that she's going to have to save a busload of nuns to get all the bad off her shoulders. Deb's going into surgery eventually, but before she passes out, she tells Joey Quinn she loves him. Wow, that was just me wiping my eye, not wiping a tear. Quinn has been waiting for that moment, and I don't think he ever thought he was going to hear that from Deb, but she actually said it to him. Tom Matthews wonders where Dexter is, and Batista tells Deb, he tells him that Deb said she didn't want him to know because he's leaving town. Batista says he's got to know, right? And Matthews says, damn right he's got to know. They're going to have to fly out of another city, as TSA only can hold Elway for so long, and he's got lots of contacts. Saxon takes a truck from a random Good Samaritan and knocks them out. Dexter and Harrison arrive at the hospital. Elway keeps calling Marshall Clayton, otherwise known as Cooper from IMDb, and he finds out by calling Clayton, otherwise known as Marshall Cooper, his field office, that Marshall Clayton, otherwise known as Marshall Cooper from IMDb, was involved in a shooting and was killed in the line of duty. Now Deb is awake and asks Dexter, because Dexter is in a room, why they never went hiking as a kid. Little random, but Dexter answers, and then Deb doesn't want Dexter to blame himself for anything that's happened at all. Dexter feels bad that he screwed up her life. Don't feel guilty about anything, and go be happy, Deb says to Dexter. Dr. Cooper, maybe that's where they got the Cooper thing from, but this is Dr. Cooper, a female doctor, comes in, and she says that she's optimistic about Deb's recovery, as the bullet missed hitting anything important. How wrong she is. Well, I guess it didn't hit anything important, but it fucked up something. So Deb bets Hannah loves Argentina. He tells her They couldn't go on the flight because Elway was there, and she's like, fuck, I put Elway onto Hannah, I'm sorry. And then she tells Dexter she's going to be fine, so you should leave, Deb says. Get out of here, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And she's like, the last thing I want you to say to me is goodbye. So Dexter says goodbye, and unfortunately, that's goodbye forever for these two characters, unless you include flashbacks or somebody carrying a body that's dead. Spoiler alert. Dexter tells Harrison this is the hospital where you were born. And we see a Deb and Dexter flashback scene. I don't know if it was old footage or this was a new scene that was shot just for this season, but it was a little touching. You know, Dexter's so worried about being a parrot, and Deb thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. Dexter tells Tom Matthews he wants a couple unis on Deb's room because Saxon is still out there. Elway shows up at the hospital and mentions something about Hannah, and Dexter's dark passenger gets pissed and pushes him up against the wall and says, "Stay away from me." Saxon goes to a veterinarian and points a gun at him and says, "Patch me up." Hannah tells Dexter we can take a bus to Jacksonville. Hannah's going to take Harrison with her, and Dexter will meet up with her. I guess I actually got that part wrong. I thought that's what I heard, but maybe I didn't. I'll touch on that in a few minutes here. Saxon tells the vet to get his car keys and let's take a ride, because they saw something about his case with him shooting Deborah Morgan on the news. And now I guess Dexter is going to meet Hannah and Harrison. I apparently got a little far ahead of myself there, and I'm not sure how. I thought that's what I heard, but maybe the finale got to me a little bit. I don't know. Harrison tells Dexter he's going to miss him. Dexter tells Harrison to do whatever Hannah says. He tells Dexter he loves Hannah. I do too. And Dexter says, so do I. See you in Buenos Aires. Dexter and Hannah share, which will be their final kiss together, unless another version of Dexter comes out and they fucking retcon things and bring fucking Hannah McKay back. Better bring Hannah McKay back. The vet takes Saxon to the hospital where Deb is. Saxon cuts the vet's tongue out. Dexter arrives back at the hospital and grabs a fork. He's probably being a chair or a table right now. That was some of the funniest stuff in this show from season 6 when Deb said that you're acting like a chair and what I need right now is a table. I don't know. I just thought of that for some reason. It was random funny stuff that Dexter's like, Angel, has anybody ever called you a chair or a table before? Back to the episode review. Dexter finds Saxon, but Batista tells him to drop it. So they got him where Dexter didn't have to do anything in front of him. Saxon is arrested, but Deb isn't in her room. Quinn, where's Deb? Dexter says. I don't know. Something went wrong and she stopped breathing. Oh boy. No, this can't be. The real Dr. Cooper says that there were Cooper, the real Cooper, says there were complications and surgery must have caused a major stroke. And Dr. Cooper says, I'm sorry. Now, for that, I think she belongs on Dexter's table. That's just something funny that in a sad moment, I was thinking that. Of all the people that belong on Dexter's table, we need a better doctor or something. If somehow Deb pulls through, it would be a miracle. Another Deb, Dexter, and Baby Harrison flashback. Again, I don't know if it was filmed that season or it was old footage that they never used that they finally used. And you've always taken care of me. Don't you remember the monsters? A story from when they were younger that Deb tells Dexter in this flashback. And of course, the episode title is called Remember the Monsters. But I don't think this should be called Remember the Monsters, in my opinion. Unless they would have went with Clyde Phillips' initial ending of Dexter, where they have all of Dexter's victims watching him as he's about to die. That would be a proper title for the episode, but this, to me, it doesn't fit. Harrison tells Hannah to tell him about Argentina, and of course, right when Hannah starts talking, Harrison starts to doze off, like, okay, you're bored. So, in a couple scenes, it seems like Harrison, every time Hannah talks, is annoyed. And I'll touch on that a little in a few minutes here. And then, oh shit, Elway is on the bus that Hannah's taking. Hannah asks, how did you find me? one of his contacts, Hannah, wear a fucking disguise. Even if you put a black wig on or a brown wig on, that will do a lot to disguise you. What were you fucking thinking? I actually typed a bunch of stuff in capital letters because I was so annoyed by that. Dexter goes back to Miami Metro. Batista tells him, we're gonna nail this asshole to the wall for Deb. I promise you. Saxon asks, who's Deb? And Joey Quinn flips the fuck out, motherfucker. And Batista removes him from the room. Dexter's dark passenger says Quinn and Batista will be able to make a case against Saxon. He could leave for Argentina now. Hannah offers Elway some tea, and Elway says, how stupid do you think I am? And Hannah gets Elway with a horse tranquilizer. When the hell did she get a horse tranquilizer? Did she just carry it with her just in case of an emergency? What if she had that with her at the airport? Would they confiscate that? Or would they say something about it being a diabetic needle or something like that? I don't know. It seemed kind of random, but it was funny. Because Elway gets finished. Who, you think I'm fucking stupid? And then, well, he doesn't say fucking. And then she stabs him in the leg with the horse tranquilizer and tells him the rules. And Dexter, after this happens, a separate, obviously he's not by Hannah, says he needs a swab on Saxon. Doesn't need an officer present. And Saxon actually seems happy to talk to Dexter. So Dexter tells him he's here to kill him with this pen. And then Saxon grabs a weapon, stabs Dexter in the shoulder right up here, and then Dexter stabs Saxon in the neck with the pen, and Oliver Saxon, otherwise known as Daniel Vogel, dies. Dexter, after a few seconds, pretends to be frightened and then hits the alarm button, and he says he tried to kill me. Dexter, Batista, and Quinn are all watching the security footage together, and Batista says, help me out here. What were you doing with Saxon? How are we going to explain this? You weren't even supposed to be here. Dexter says he went in there to make sure it was handled correctly because shit has gotten fucked up before. And Batista's like, okay. And God bless Joey Quinn. Says, obviously, self-defense. And they both know Dexter purposely killed Saxon. There's no doubt about it. And they understand. As Dexter's leaving, Angel Batista says he's praying for Deb. Yep. I would be praying for her too. And then Dexter wants these feelings to stop. Too much bad stuff has happened. So Dexter goes to the hospital to visit Deb while this hurricane is getting closer and closer. He says he would change everything if he could. I'm sorry. He holds Deb's hand. Dexter says he can't leave Deb like this. He's her big brother. Dexter turns off the machine that's helping, that's breathing for Deb. And Dexter tells Deb he loves her. And then Deb has officially died. Now, if you get my take on the episode, I never would have said this in a million years, but honestly, if they wanted to kill a character off that would upset Dexter in this episode, they should have killed Hannah off. I don't think Deb deserved to die. It makes sense, but it pisses the fan base off for one. If Deb doesn't die in this episode and Hannah dies, I think people love this episode a lot more. Just my thought. I don't want Hannah to die, but I think with the fan base, it would be a lot more accepted if Hannah would have been the one that died instead of Deb. So Dexter takes Deb's body back to the slice of life. He rides his boat towards the coming hurricane, or the hurricane coming, I should say. And then Dexter calls Hannah. She says she's at the airport about to board, and they're going to make it. Hannah tells Dexter she's so happy. And then you want to talk to Harrison. So Harrison gets on the line, and Dexter tells Harrison that Daddy loves you, and remember that every single day until you see Daddy again. And then Dexter hangs up the phone and throws the phone into the ocean. And then Dexter takes Deb's lifeless body and puts her into the ocean. She's in all white. It's not a dark scene at all. So she can get eaten by sharks. I'm sorry, I wouldn't have put her in the ocean. I would have burned her or something like that. Like she's just going to get mauled by stuff in the ocean. Maybe not, though. Maybe she'll just sink to the bottom like everything else does. But I don't know. I would have put her in there because she's going to get ate by a shark or a killer whale or something like that. So the Dexter opening theme plays, which I don't think I've actually mentioned that in any of these reviews. It's such a ominous like sound, or not the opening theme, like the I don't even remember who's the composer for it. Something Wolf or something like that. And Dexter's Dark Passenger says, "I destroy everyone I love. I can't let that happen to Hannah and Harrison. I have to protect them from me." And then Dexter rides his boat into the hurricane. And then we see a rescue crew. They find pieces of the slice of life. There doesn't appear to be any survivors. And then back to Miami Metro as Batista gets a call. But before he talks, I think he might have said Batista, we see Soderquist sitting at his desk in the background. Awesome. We should have got more Soderquist, and maybe he was in the episode earlier and I just didn't catch it, although it seems like I've been catching him every time. The last 3 episodes, the last 2, he was featured a lot. So we get to see Soderquist one last time. He should have been brought back somehow, some way, as he could have been like another serial killer that nobody knew about, and then Dexter solved the crime or something like that. I think that would have been an awesome story. Obviously, you need more to it than that, but certainly it would have been good. But I guess the people on the phone tell Batista that Dexter is dead, even though you don't have a body, I guess. And then Hannah and Harrison have made it to Argentina, or at least overseas somewhere. They're sitting outside at a table. And then from what I think is a tablet, Hamala, what the hell is that? Hannah finds out that Dexter is dead. While Harrison looks bored playing with his fire truck. And then how about we go get some ice cream? And then we see semis and a bunch of lumber. It's Dexter. He's alive and well with his new life of being a lumberjack. Camera zooms in on Dexter sitting at a table, and then Dexter looks at the camera, and it seems to me that he's pretty depressed. And that's the end of the original Dexter run. So I know a lot of people out there absolutely hate this episode of Dexter, and I do not hate this episode. And I can't officially say this yet, but I actually think this finale is better than the Dexter New Blood finale. Dexter New Blood had a lot of promise, but they did not stick the landing, where I think this one is better. I made the recommendation that if they would have killed Hannah off instead of Deb, it might have sat well, or been more well received with the Dexter fan base. But I mean, it had its moments. I will say that there's some characters that didn't get proper justice in this episode. Vince Masuka, he was at the hospital. That's it. Nikki, not that we really care about Nikki, but where was she at? We didn't get any Nikki. We didn't get flashbacks from any other characters. You thought we would see a LaGuerta, a Rita, an Aster Cody, although they did get mentioned. There were no hallucination flashbacks of previous characters in Dexter, which Dexter New Blood did do. You saw, people that had died when Dexter was around. They showed Lundy, LaGuerta, Rita, and did they show Dokes? I can't remember now. It's been a while since I've watched that finale. I've only watched Dexter New Blood's finale one time, but I've seen lots of reactions to it. But in full, sitting there watching it myself, not on YouTube, I've only watched the finale one time. But, this episode, like I said, this episode gets a lot of criticism. I'm going to give it an 8.2 out of 10. Now, I think my initial review of the episode, I gave it a 9.0 out of 10. I'm not going to go back and watch that video. But I do know that the episode has major flaws. Well, for one, Hannah doesn't wear a disguise, and that's just completely stupid. And Harrison is one of the most unlikable characters on Dexter, from when he just kind of falls asleep every time Hannah starts talking after he asks her a question, and then what happens with him on Dexter New Blood. So, I got some end of the episode thoughts here. I got to, of course, give the character of the episode. Well, for the males, I could give it to Dexter, but that's the easy way out. I'm going to give it to Joey Quinn. I think Quinn was awesome in Season 8. I think this is Quinn's best season. he was so good on this season, even though he dumped Jamie, but Quinn did a good job. Now, as far as our females, I could give the female character to Deb, and she's carried this show. And this is the most I've ever liked Deb watching this show, and I do believe this is my 9th time watching this original run of Dexter. I'm pretty sure it's my 9th time. If it's not my 9th time, it's my 8th time. I've watched this show that many times. But she laid in bed most of the episode, and while her scenes were powerful, I have to give the female character of the episode to Hannah McKay with the stuff that happened with Elway. She's the one that's going to take care of Harrison. The stuff at the airport, she didn't get caught by Elway. She was smart enough to stay in the bathroom. So I have to give it to Hannah. You could argue Deborah Morgan too, and I wouldn't be against that. But I'm going to give it to Hannah. I'm not being biased here. I just think Hannah did more in the episode. Deb, all she did was lay in bed or lay there dead. And then we have some characters to rank. We lost Oliver Saxon, otherwise known as Daniel Vogel. As a villain, he's okay, but he got introduced so late, and that's the problem with his character. If he would have been in the first episode of the season, I think his character would have been a lot better. I'm going to give him a 6.3 out of 10. And then, it's pretty obvious. Deborah Morgan as a character, 10 out of 10. And she's really moved up my character ranking list. I used to be so annoyed with Deb watching this show. And as the rewatches that I've had, I've liked her more and more, but never before have I liked her this much. Like, my opinion of her went from right here to right here. She's got to be a top 5 favorite character, which she wasn't even in the top 7 before in this show. And then we have the veterinarian guy. He wasn't really a feature, but I felt bad for the guy because he did nothing wrong. I'll give him a 3 out of 10 because he was good at his job. He listened to what Saxon had to say. He followed directions, and he still gets his tongue cut. Well, actually, you know what? He doesn't die. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think he does, so I should even ranked him, actually. But you know what? As a character, I'll give him a 3 out of 10 anyway, even though he actually doesn't die. So I'm done rambling. Remember to check out my initial review of this episode. It should come up any second now if it hasn't yet already. With 20 seconds left in the video, that's when it'll come up. If you're a fan of Dexter or Dexter New Blood and want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, go ahead and Hulk smash that like button. Share this video with anybody that you know that likes Dexter as a series, or put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode. What would you rank this season of Dexter? What would you rank this episode of Dexter? Who would be your male? Who would be your female character of the episode? And any other tidbits you want to add? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, be a part of something special. I'll be back with Dexter New Blood, and J-Dev will return.